me check. Okay, I think we are live now. That's fine. Okay, so today we'll be learning about variables, data types, comments, and so much more. So first thing first, as you are just looking at my screen, just drop the folder we've created yesterday into VS Code. If you have not created that folder yesterday, then you have to do it, or you can reference to the yesterday's recording and you just take a look at it and learn how you can do it. But just make sure the folder you've created, you drag and drop it into VS Code, and that will open VS Code for you, and you have an interface like this, and you'll be able to see the code we have written yesterday. What I'll do is to try to increase my font a little bit, yeah, or let me decrease it a little bit so that you guys can see it clearly. To bring this down, and that's fine. So yeah, I'll get rid of this code and then we'll list the list of things we will be learning today. So today I said we'll be learning about comments. We'll also be learning about variables. We'll also look at how do we call it, data types, and we'll also learn how to get input from the user. So those are the things we'll be learning today. Can you guys hear me? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so first of all, we'll start with comments. Okay, so let's just start with comments. I'll make sure I put things down so that I'll share the files with you and you guys can get access to it and use it later on. I think my screen is frozen or something like that. Okay guys, sorry for that. My screen got frozen. I don't know why. Can you guys hear me? Sorry for that. My screen got frozen. I actually don't know what happened, so I just have to rejoin. Let me know if you can see my screen now. Can you guys see my screen now? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I said we'll be learning about comments in Python. We'll also learn about variables, data types. We'll also learn how to get user inputs. Mr. Nathan, your hand is raised. Quickly. Oh, okay. I think today I've increased it a little bit. So check right now. Try watching from YouTube and let me know if we are like it's audible. It's audible today, right? Okay. I think then it's fine. We can continue. So we start off with comments. So in every programming language, we have what we call comments, and what comments helps you to achieve is that they help you to achieve three main things. But first of all, when you are asked what is comments, they just allow you to let's say cancel some piece of some line of code so that when you run your code don't actually run then your interpreter don't actually run that line of code. Okay, so it helps you to explain code. Let's say I have yesterday we learned how to print something. So let's say I've printed something like hello, and I've repeated this hello like 3 times, right? when I run this code, hello will be printed 3 times on my terminal, which we can all see hello, hello, hello. Okay. The thing is, with comments, I can still get this hello here. All I'll do is to comment it out, and now when I run the code, only one hello will be printed. Is that okay? So comments in every programming language, or in Python for instance, help you to explain your code. Comments can also help you to make your code more readable. And finally, comments helps you to prevent code execution, which we have done right here. So you can see, as I've commented these ones out, I'm not able to execute it. So once you write these comments, you comment something out like this in code, when Python is about to compile and run that code, any line of code that it sees that there is this hash sign in front of it, it knows it's a comment, and it will not compile it. Is that okay? Is that okay? So to write a comment, you just have to put the hash sign in front of it. So you just do hash like this, that shift 3, and anything you write in front of this will not get executed. Is that okay? So you can use it to explain the code, right? So let's say, for instance, I've printed hello. I printed just hello right here, and I want to explain to someone what this line of code is doing. I can use comment. So in front of the hello, I can put this hash sign in front of it, and then I can write that, okay, I am printing hello. So comments makes your code what more readable. So this is a typical use case where you are using comments to make your code readable, or to explain your code to someone. And in professional setting, or in production ready code, you have to comment all the code you have written. Okay, so if you are working for companies where you write code to perform certain tasks, you have to make sure you comment them out, because one day you may not be there will be another developer who will come and continue your work you are doing. So you have to make sure you write a lot of comments which explains what you are trying to achieve for that developer, so that that developer will understand whatever you are trying to do with that code, and will be able to continue from there. Is that okay? So we said comments help us to achieve three main things. First, they explain Python code. So let me put it here. Second, they help us to do what? Who is that? Secondly, we say comments help us to make code more readable. So makes code more readable. And then finally, we say comments will help us to prevent code execution. So helps prevent code execution. I'll share these files with you. Right, so these are the three main goals that comments help us to achieve. It helps us to explain code, which is, people are now joining. It helps us to explain code, which is what I've just done here. I've written a line of code, and then I said to write a comment, you bring the what hash sign here, and after the hash sign, you write everything in front of it, which shows that, okay, you are explaining this code. Is that okay? So that's comments helping us to explain our code. Comment making our preventing our code from execution is maybe writing another print a number where we want to print, let's say 45, and then we realize that, okay, we don't have to print 45, so we want to comment it out, and then we comment it out. So this right here, we are using comment to prevent what code execution. And typical place where you will need this is that, okay, you have written a whole code, right? You have written a long code, let's say 100 lines of code, and then suddenly, when you started writing the code was working, but towards the latter part you realize that now you are getting errors. So comments can help you to comment out all the codes you have written from the starting, and then you will just run the latter part code you are having, and make sure that, okay, you know where exactly the error is coming from. So that's comment prevent you from what executing your code. Then comments also make code more readable, is what I also explained earlier on, that you have to what explain whatever you are writing. Like when you write the code, you comment it out for other developers to understand, because you will not be the only one working on that particular code base. Hope that is clear, right? Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay, now let's learn about some types of commenting, okay, or type of comments. Okay, Wilson, your hand is up. You can quickly make your contribution. Okay, let's continue. So let's look at types of comments. So we have two basic types of commenting, and the first one we call it single line commenting, which is what we have done. So let's say you have some code. So for now we know how to print. So let's print something. Let's say you have some code which is only one line, just like this. Hello world. Let's just put hello world here, and you want to comment it. It's only one line, like only one line code. So single line commenting is you comment the code one after the other, like only one one, just like that. So if you want to comment this, you come here, you comment this one out. You want to comment this, you comment this one out. So this is what is known as what single line commenting. You are commenting them one after the other, which is good if you only have, let's say, some few number of lines of code. But when you have a long code, single line commenting is not like desirable there. So let me put here single line commenting for reference sake. So this is a single line comment. Okay, so this is a single line comment. Then the second one we have is called a multi-line commenting. Okay, so you can comment multiple lines at the same time. So let's put that here for reference, which we'll call multi-line commenting. Right, and for multi-line commenting is very easy. So first of all, let's borrow this code here where we are printing hello world and repeat it some number of times. Yeah, please can you mute yourself? Please can you mute yourself? Doc Vetsu, can you mute yourself? What is that? Wow. Guys, just mute yourself. When you have a question, then you can unmute or raise your hand. That would be good. Um, can you guys still hear me? Okay, so now let's assume now we have a lot of code. Okay, so this is just some few number of code, which is 6 lines. But just imagine you have 100 lines of code and you want to comment uh, about maybe 50% of that code. You will notice that okay, doing single line commenting will take you a whole lot of time, right? Like you have to do this one after the other. So that's where multiple line commenting comes in. So with multiple line commenting, you can comment like 3 lines of code at the same time just by bringing this quotation mark. So you bring 3 quotation mark at the start where you want your comment to begin, and wherever you want it to end, you come there. So if maybe I want it to end here, I'll just have to come there and bring the same 3 quotation marks. You can see, and so all these ones right here has been what commented out. Is that okay? Is that okay? So when I run the code, you can see we only got only one hello word here printed and the first hello here printed. Is that okay? So that's multi-line comment where you need to comment a lot of lines at the same time. Is that okay? All right, so that's all you have to know about commenting in Python. So I told you commenting helps us to explain Python code. It helps us to make our Python code more readable and also helps us to prevent code execution. So those are the things you can use commenting to achieve. Okay, so after teaching commenting now, I can even comment all this out, and then I'll continue with another topic which is very good. But I will quickly also teach you a hack, like a simple way of commenting now, you just by just using some uh, keys on your keyboard. So let's assume I have this line of code, print hello world 4 times, and I want to comment all of this. All you have to do is to select all of this. So use your mouse, just hover here and then drag it to where you want to. Just highlight all of these and press Ctrl and /. So this will automatically comment all of it for you so that you don't need to do all that manually. Let me take it again. So I say if you have these lines of code, or you have a lot of lines of code and you want to comment all of them at once, all you have to do is what? Highlight all of them, right? First highlight all of these and press Ctrl / to comment everything out at once. Is that okay? So someone can try it and let me know if it works on your computer. But that's simply how to comment your code in Python. And now I believe you know what comment helps us to achieve, and you also know how to comment code in Python. Is that okay? I believe so, right? All right, so let's move on to another topic where we call it variables. Okay, so variables or variables in Python. So let's move quickly. We have only 1 hour today. So variables in Python. So anytime you hear variables, variables are just placeholders for data. Okay, so instead of, let's say, writing 5, you prefer to say, okay, x is equal to 5. Let me put it 5 there. You prefer to say x is equal to 5. Is that okay? Instead of just writing, let's say, 5, you say x is equal to 5. And this define the notion we are saying variables are just what placeholders for data. Why will you say s is 5 instead of writing 5? Okay, someone will ask, if why should we use variables then if we can just write 5 like this, or we can just print 5 like this? Okay, the reason for variables is that, okay, if you have if I tell you to print 5 10 times, right? Or let me say print it maybe 5 times, 10 times, any number of times. So let's quickly print, let's say 5. We print 5 and I ask you to print again. So you copy 5 like this, you print it some number of times, right? So let me quickly get rid of this 5 here and then print this 5. You can see we have printed 5 on the terminal for some number of times, right? Which works. But now imagine I told you to come back, change 5 to 6, because it should be 6 and not 5. So I'm now telling you, okay, I've made a mistake, so instead of 5, change it to 6. You see that you have to go through all this code and now change 5 to 6 one after the other. Do you get it? So you have to do all this manual work again, and in this case we just only have it 5 times, so that's why we are fortunate. But imagine in the code base where you have so many number of lines using these 6, then you have to go through all that, and you will not want to go through all that pain. So that's one problem variable helps us to achieve. So if I said s is equal to 5, that means on my computer I'm saying that I'm assigning what 5 to x, and in the computer memory location, the computer will store this particular 5, and anytime I call x will go and retrieve 5 for me. Is that okay? So variables help us what? To store values, and they are just placeholder for data, so that anytime you call the variable name, it will go to that particular memory location on your machine and retrieve the data assigned to it. So now if we are using variables, look at how things become simple. All I'll do is to print x, right? Because I know x is a placeholder for what? 5. So I'll just change everything here to x, and if I print x like this, it will still give me the number of 5. But if someone comes and say, okay, it's not 5, change it to something like 7, I'll just change it once here at the top, x is equal to 7, and then quickly when I run this, you can see everything changed to 7, which is very, very easy. If it's 1,000 times that I'm using this variable, I can just change it once and it quickly reflects throughout the code. Is that okay? Is that okay? All right, so let me see the reactions. That's cool. So yeah, that's how quickly we can define variables. And apart from that, we have other variables. So you can quickly say, you can give any variable name, right? You can say name is equal to your name. Let me use someone's name. Let me use doc virtue, right? Doc virtue. Is it doc virtue? Just like this, right? Name is equal to doc virtue. So if you are, we'll come to data type, but if you are defining variables which are string, okay, which are like letters and all those stuff, then you have to use quotation mark. So that's why you see the quotation mark. We can also say, okay, y is equal to some number where we can see 7.6. That's also fine. We can also say, okay, rain is equals to true, okay, which is also variable. So anytime we call rain, it will give us the value true. So that's variable in the nutshell. It helps us to what? Store data, okay. It helps us to store data. Is that okay? So simply put, is it holds, it's just like a placeholder for data. Is that okay? So okay, let's, someone says my network is bad. Let's look at some rules in defining variables, okay. When you are defining variables, we have some rules which you have to obey as a programmer. So rules in defining variables, yeah. So some common rules you have to obey when defining variables, okay. So variable name must start with a letter or underscore, okay. So it must start with a letter or underscore. That's to say, when you want to define a variable, you can start with a letter, like, okay, a is equal to some number, okay, b is equal to something. Just put it there. Is that okay? But you can't start a variable with something like, let's say 5 is equal to, then you put a name here, something like that. You can't start a variable with a number. Is that okay? You start with a letter or an underscore. Is that okay? So that's the first rule that you have to obey when you are declaring variables. Let me quickly put it here. So that's the first rule you have to obey when declaring variables. Is that okay? So variable name can also not start with a number. That's a point to note. Then from here, variable names must be what? Descriptive, okay. Let's put that there and I'll explain why. Variable names must be very descriptive. Descriptive, yeah, that's fine. So variable names must be descriptive. What this means is that, okay, when you are working on projects which involve, let's say, a lot of math, right, then the variable names you assign to numbers should be related to math, okay. You can't be working, let's say, a project where things like a lot of things involved in that project is math, and then you are giving variable names as maybe you are using medical names for those variables. That's not done. The reason why you shouldn't do that is that when you do that, the code still works, but the reason why you shouldn't do that is that when you do that, later on, let's say that same code base, you are not working on that code base, you left that code base, and then you come back some number of years later, you will see that, okay, it's your own code, but now you are forgetting the code. Is that okay? So in order not to forget your own code, in order for your own code not to look like an alien for you, you have to make sure you give what? Descriptive variable names, okay. So when you are working on projects that are related to math, make sure the names you are giving are related to math names. Is that okay? So that's another rule that you need to obey when you are declaring variable names. Is that okay? Okay, another thing is, I'm not going to write this, but let me teach you. Another thing is, variable names are case sensitive. I think I should just put it here. It's very important as well. Very, very, very important. Let me put it here as a comment. Shift 3. Oh, let's put it here. Variable names are case sensitive. Okay, so let me give you a quick example of that. Let's say you have name is equal, or name is equal to some name, right? Where you have some name like Ima, right? It's different from, you have another variable called name is equal to, let's say, the same Ima. Is that okay? So that's what we mean by variable names are case sensitive. The name you've given to the variable is the exact name you have to use when you are retrieving it. So these two variable names are not the same. Is that okay? So when we print this schema, is different, and we print this schema, is different. They are stored in different places in the computer memory location. Is that okay? So you have to make sure when you are declaring those variables, you are very careful, you know the type of names you are giving, and then you retrieve them using those names accordingly. Is that okay? All right. Finally, the last one, a variable name cannot be some of the Python keywords, right? So when we are writing code, let's say, let me put that first. Variable name cannot be a Python keyword, right? So keywords are just reserved words when they are building the programming language. So uh, as the founder of the programming language is writing the programming language, he has used some of these words, and we call those words reserved words or the keywords. And when you are declaring your variable, you shouldn't use that word. For now, we've learned about the print statement. So let's say you can't just name your variable print. Is that okay? You shouldn't name your variable print is equal to something like 5. Okay, you can't use these keywords. Sometimes you use some of them, it works, but it doesn't work well. Like those are how do you call them? They are reserved words. So you shouldn't declare variables using these reserved words. And as we code along, we see a lot of reserved words, and you know that okay, these are all reserved words that you shouldn't use. Is that okay? Is that okay? All right, so let's continue. Now, another thing you need to know about variables are like sometimes you don't use only one word to describe a variable, to define a variable. Okay, let's say you want to define a variable called my name. You can just do my name like this. But when you do my name is equal to maybe something like Sam, sometimes it's very difficult to read. Is that okay? It's very, very, very difficult to read. That's why we have techniques in what defining variables, and these techniques vary from one company to another. So I'll teach you the 3 techniques that we have in defining this variable to overcome this problem. So the first one we call it we have camel case, which is another technique used. So every company that you join, they will have their own way of doing it, and as you are also learning, you have to just know the 3 ways of doing it, so that when you join any company, you will know the company's culture, the one they use, and then the one you will use. We also have what we call the Pascal case, right? So Pascal case, and finally we have what we call the snake case. So let me put another comment. So we call this one the snake case. So this is another way of declaring variable. So let's start with what we call the camel casing. So with the camel casing, when you are using camel casing and you want to define a variable called my name like this, so we'll be using my name for reference. When you are using camel casing, what you do is that the first letter that starts the variable, you use small letter, and then the next word that follows, you use the what uppercase letter. So my name, you write it like this, my name, and then it's equal to the sum. So this is an example of using what we call the camel casing. So I will comment it by the side here. We learned comment already, so you can see another use of comment. I'm just writing out here, right? So I'll just write camel casing, right? So this is camel casing. The beginning letter have to be lower. The next letter that follows it should be it should start with a uppercase letter or a capital letter. Is that okay? Is that okay? All right, so let's continue. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the 2 words should be joined together. They are joined together. What differentiates them is with camel case, the first letter is lowercase, but the one that continues will be what? Uppercase. If you have another, let's say if you want to write my name is, the next word that will continue should also be uppercase letter. So my name is, and this is a variable, and this helps the variable to be readable. Okay, so now when you see this, you can quickly read it down just saying something like this, my name. Like it looks like something that you can pronounce. Is that okay? So that's why companies it might be joined together. That's for camel case, it must be joined together. Okay. Then let's go to another case which is called the Pascal case. So with the Pascal case, all you have to do is that you start every of them, like any the names, all the names that you want to join, you have to start all of them with what? Uppercase. Is that okay? The starting on all of them must be uppercase, and that's for Pascal. So my name will be something like my name, and then it's equal to, you assign your variable. Is that okay? So this one is called the Pascal casing. The Pascal casing. Is that okay? Are we on the same page? So this is the Pascal casing. And the last one, which is snake case. So for snake case, you join them with underscore. So for snake case, you can just do my name, which is equal to, and then you assign it the name you want to assign it. So this one is called the snake casing. Snake casing or snake case, something like that. Let me just leave it snake case. Is that okay? Any how do we call it? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Are we all good? Are we all? Yes. Okay, so let's continue. So that's for variables. So for now, for variables, we look at how to declare variables. We look at some rules governing variable declaration, which includes they must start with underscore, a letter. They can start with numbers and what have you. We also look at the different ways of what declaring variables that are very long. When we say we have camel case, Pascal case, and snake case. Is that okay? All right, so that's for variables. Now let's move to what we call data types. Okay, another interesting one in programming, data types. Data types, right, in Python. Let's quickly move to data types in Python. All right, so to remember data types and never forget them, let me give you this scenario. In our rooms, right, for everyone that have a room, let's say you have a wardrobe, you have a shoe rack, you have a lot of things that you place things, like you organize things in your room, right? So there will be no way where you pack your clothes and go and put them in the shoe rack. There will be no way you take your shoes and go and put them in your wardrobe. So that's kind of how data types work like. So data types, we have a lot of them in Python, but we'll start with the basic ones. Which one we'll start with strings. For now, we'll start with strings. We'll start with integers, and then we'll start with, also, let's start with the four. We'll start with booleans, right? We'll start with boolean. We'll also start with what we call which one? Floating point variables, right? Floating point variables. We'll start with these four now, and as we progress, we'll go to advanced data types like lists, tuples, dictionaries, and so on. But now let's just focus on these ones. All right. So when we declare a variable, any data we assign to variables have their own data type. In Python, you don't have to when you declare a variable, you don't have to give the data type you are assigning. That's what one thing that also makes Python that easy. But for that one, it's just like a double-edged sword. It can harm you and it's beneficial to you as well. So let's say when you say x is equal to some number like 6, you are not saying, okay, x is an integer, x is a string, x is a boolean, or x is a float. So Python, you just declare and you go. You can even come down again, and the same x, you assign it to 5, right? You assign it to 5, and now when s will now what s will do is that s will be, when you run, let's say when we print x here, when it's assigned to 5, now when it comes down here, x will be 6. So Python is that very dynamic, and all these things can either affect you positively or negatively, right? So you have to know the data types you are working with so that you don't make some silly mistakes, okay, when you are writing Python or when you are writing production ready code. So when we say x is equal to 6, automatically we all know and we can all testify that 6 here is an integer. So the data type for x here is an integer. And in Python, to know the data type, you have to just print and then what we call the type. So you have to type right here, and type is also a function. Then you put x here, and when you print, it will tell you, okay, x is equals to int. So the syntax is that you put x in a type function, right? So type, which is the function in Python. So when you put x in a type here, this will check for the type of x, but we want to print it. That's why we've taken all these things and also put it in a print statement. So we write print, and we embed all of these statements in it so that we can get the data type of x. Is that okay? So that's the same thing I've written on this single line. So for now, let me get rid of this. So when we print this, when print, okay, let me see. Okay, 4 is equal to 1 bar. We have made some mistakes. Okay, so yeah, this will give us an error. We can just comment this out. Let's come back here. So when we print the type here, let me run it again. You can see we got class int. This means this x belongs to the class integer. Is that okay? Class int, and we can all get it. Okay, someone will say, okay, but Felix, we can all know this is an integer. Why am I printing it? The thing is, when we are working with programming, sometimes you get data from different places. Sometimes data from API, data from the web, and you can't see that data unless you receive it. So sometimes when you receive it, x like this can be a string you don't know, can be float you don't know, so you have to use the type to check. Once you know the type, then you can know how to use it. Is that okay? Now let's come here and let's define a name, or let's call it names, and then we give it some, just a name to it. Okay, let's just give a name to it. Let's give mango to it, and when we print the type of this should give us type string, right? Because it's a string of words. So when we print type of what we call names, this is going to give us type string. So let me run it, and we should get what? Class string and class int. Okay, so that is another data type. And so to declare a string, you have to make sure it's in what? Quotation marks, it's in quotes. Is that okay? Then now finally, let's declare floating point number, and for that, let's say, okay, y is equal to 5 point some number. Okay, so floating point numbers have decimals in front of them. Is that okay? So we can also print the type of that at the end right here, and that should give us whatever y is, the class y belongs to. So when I run this again, this should give me class floats or something like that. So you can see we have class floats, and also the boolean is also there. So we can do something like, okay, running or something. Let me just put running here is equal to, let's say, false, not finally, is equal to false, and we can print the type of running, and then running will come and give us a class of bool. Okay, so you can see we got class bool. So yeah, every data have its own data type, and it's very important that you know the type so that you can work with it. Okay, so let me bring out a case here where maybe you don't know the data type and you are trying to work with some data types that are not identical. You will see some errors we can run, possible errors we can run into, or some results that we will get. Is that okay? So let's say we have two strings. Okay, let's say we have let's use a and b. A is equal to, let's say, 67. What is the data type of a? Who can help us with the data type of a here? What will be the data type of a? Just raise your hand and you say it. That's all. What would be the data type of a? Quickly, let's see the data type of a. Okay, you can say it. Okay, that's your opinion. Who else will try? Who else will try? All right, so he said a here is an integer, which a is not. So a right here is a string. I told you anything you define in a quote is what? A string. Okay, so you see that you can assume it's integer because you see c7. So let's say we also have a b here, and b is also equal to some other string like 44, and then we want to print a plus b, so we just print a plus b, right? A plus b. something like this. Let's see what we get when we print a plus b. When we print a plus b, you can see the value we got C744, and this is what you get when you are adding strings. Is that okay? Initially we're thinking, okay, this will give us 67 plus 44, but with string it concatenates, which we will learn soon what concatenation means. It just adds up. It doesn't do our normal addition, right? It just take the first 67 and add the 44 to it. So you can see that, you can see the harm this can cause you. Let's say you are writing a software for banks, and then instead of adding, somebody made a deposit of 67, another deposit of 44. Instead of adding that money for him, you have to, instead of converting it to integer and add it for him, you leave it like this. Now the person automatically is having this money in his bank account, which shouldn't be the case. So at the end of the day, the person will get more money than he has in his account, which can cause a lot of problem for the bank. So that's why you need to know the data type and also know how to work with it. So you can see adding string doesn't do our normal addition like adding integer. Is that okay? So you can see one problem here and the reason why you need to know the data type. Is that okay? All right, so now let's move on to another topic in Python where we call it casting. Okay, let's move on to casting. So casting is the process of converting from one data type to another. Is that okay? Converting from one data type to another. Casting helps us to convert from one data type to another. So let's say you have a float and you want to convert it to an integer. Casting helps you to do that. Is that okay? So let's use some floating numbers. So let's use y here. So we have y is equal to 5.6 and we want y to be an integer. So what we'll do is what we'll just do, if you want to y to be an integer, let's call this variable int underscore y, right? And int underscore y, all you need to do is to what, type the word int, which is a function here, and then you put in y. Is that okay? All you are saying is that, okay, I have y here and I want y to be an integer, so you wrap it inside the int function. Is that okay? And that's what casting helps you achieve, converting from one data type to another. Is that okay? Any question on that? Any question on that? Okay, so let's continue. So now let's just print the int y to see if how it behaves, because it will have some special behavior. But before that, what do you guys think the answer will be? Why am I not printing? Print. Oh, what's happening? What do you guys think the answer will be? You can put it in the chat. So print int y. So we are converting this y to an integer. What do you think we will get? So when we run it, you can see we have gotten what, 5 right here. So Python just runs it to the nearest number. It like, because this is, we in normal sense you think, okay, this is 6, so you should run it to something like 6, but no, to just take this number and that's all, leave everything in front of the decimal point. So that's what happened here by just converting this data type to another. The same thing, if you have an integer, you can also change it to float. So let's say we have s, which is equal to 6 here. If you want to get x as a float, which we'll just call float underscore x, it will just be something like what, float, we wrap x in a float and we'll put it here, and we can also print the same thing, which will give us the float version of x, which should be 6.0. So float x, which we have here, and when we run this should give us 6.0. So you can see x was 6, which is an integer. Now we got 6.0, which is being converted to floating point numbers. Is that okay? Any question up to now, or we can continue? Let's see what is any question now, or we are all on track? Okay, Mr. Sunday, I'm listening. Okay, exactly. Yes, so that's why that's why I did it so that you know how it behaves. So if you want to run up and down, we have some methods in Python which we'll get to that. Some other Python methods that help us to run it up, run it down, and all those things. Is that okay? But you should just know casting directly. This is what casting directly will do. So it's good you know, and now when you are writing Python, you know, okay, this is what casting directly will do for me. So once I know it, it's very important. I take note of it and I know how I will use it. Is that okay? All right. So we can now continue from this. So we know what casting is, which helps us to convert from one data type to another. Now let's see, let's learn how to take user input, which is part of what we will learn today. So let's quickly do that and then we can look at strings. All right, so taking an input from the user, okay, taking an input from the user is nothing but just giving the user somewhere to type something so that you can receive that in Python. So let's learn how to take user input in Python. Right? So let's take user input in Python. So let's say we are writing a code where we want to take the name of a user. Okay, so to take a user input, first you specify the variable inside where you save the name, the particular data you are taking. Okay, so let's assume for now I'm going to take a name, so I'll just write name, and name is equal to, and then the function for taking user input is just what, input. Right, so you just put input here, which is the function, and for the user to know whatever he needs to do, you have to put some text there, and that text must be string. So I can just say, okay, Mr. User, enter your name, just like this. Okay, so when the user enters the name, I'll take that name, and that name will automatically be stored in this particular variable. Is that okay? So let's try and run it, and then let's print the name and let's see what the name will be. All right, so uh, what I'll do is to clear my terminal here, run this code, and you can see right here when I raise the terminal, you can see enter your name, and when I click here I can enter a name here like Phyllis. After that, when I hit enter, you can see it got printed at the down here. So this is how we can take user input. All right, but let me show you one thing which you have to be mindful of when you are writing user input. Let's say we want to take two numbers. Okay, so let's say we want to take x and y. Let's forget the name here. Let's say your task is to take two numbers from a user and add them. So let's say x is equal to, enter your, let's put it, enter your first number, right? This is the x, and the y will also be second number, just like that, and we are taking it and we want to add it. So x, this should be y, which is equal to, enter your, this should be second number. So we are taking first number, second number, and our task is what, to store this in a result variable. So let's put result is equal to, then we'll do x plus what, y. Is that not it? Where is the plus? S plus y. And all we want to do is to what, print results. That's all we want to do. So we take two numbers from the user, we add them, and we print it. Is that okay? But now, what do you guys assume will happen if I enter the first number to be 5 and the second number to be 5? What result do you think we will get? So can someone try answering that before we even run it? Can someone answer that before we even run it? Okay. Okay, that's cool. Who else will try? So he thinks when we enter 5, we enter another 5, we'll get 5 5. Who else will try? Okay, nice try. Who else will try? Okay. All right, so let's try it out. Let's see who will be right and who will be wrong. I don't think we'll get 10 though. But enter your first number. So let me enter the 5. Enter again. Another one. Enter the second number. Let me enter. So you can see we got 5 5. So now that we've gotten 5 5, who will declare for us the reason why we got the 5 5? Like who will say something about it? Why do you think we got the 5 5? Upon everything, considering everything we've learned so far, what do you think? Why do you think we got 5 5? Who will try? Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, so the reason why we got the 5 5 is that by default, whatever this string returns is what is the input returns is a string. Okay, by default, whatever input returns is a string. And remember, I told you earlier on here that when you are adding strings, it doesn't add like the number addition. It just takes the first number and add the second number to it. Is that okay? Are we clear on that? So since we are getting them as string, the first 5 will be there to add the second 5 to it because it's string. Okay, so in order to get 10, what do we need to do? Who can try it based on what we've learned so far? In order to add the 5 5 and get 10, what do you guys think we should do? We've learned something before this, so what do you think we should do? What's the name of that thing and how do we do it? Who will try? What should we do? We should define our input as integer. So what's the name of that process called? So we have to convert it. I want the name because we mentioned the name. We've learned that just now. Okay, Nathan, you can mention. It's casting. So yeah, casting. Make sure you don't forget the terminologies because when okay, who is also coming in? Make sure you don't forget the terminologies because when you are working with your fellow people, they use the terminologies. Okay, cast this number from this, cast this data type. So make sure you don't forget it. So we have to cast it. Okay, we have to make sure we cast this to integer, and there are several ways of doing it. So what we can just do here is what x is equal to int of what x. So whatever x we are taking, we are converting it to what integer, or we can, it will be better to convert it to float because somebody can enter 5 point something. So you can see, so this is how you think programmatically. We convert it to integer, somebody enter something like 5.5, you only get 5. So it's better always you convert it to float. You can do the same thing for y. So you can do y is also equal to what float of y. So what you are saying is that okay, whatever y I've gotten here, I'm still storing it in the variable called whatever x I'm getting here, I'm still storing in the variable called x, and I'm casting here, I'm casting that string to float, the same thing to this. And then now when we print it, when we run this same thing, let's give it 5 5 again and see what happens. So 5, another 5, and you can see now we got 10.0 because once we are casting them to float, the result will be float. Okay, but if you are lazy like me who don't want to write a lot of lines, what you also do is what comment this out and cast it right here. So before you take the input, you can just put everything in an integer. You can cast everything. That means whatever it returns, it should be an integer. Is that okay? So you can do it like this. How do you call it? Just let me get rid of this. You can do it like this. You can just wrap all of this into an integer on the same line so that you don't have to do a lot of work. This is for lazy people, but if you are not lazy, you have a lot of time, you can just go ahead and do it one after the other at these lines. So this is the same thing or the same way as doing it like this. Is that okay? So let's try this one and see if it also works. So first number, I'll put 4. The second number, let me put 5, which I think I should get 9 or 9.0, and you can see we got the 9. So now I'm casting it to int. That's why we got 9, which should be float. So it should be float, but I've casted it to int. But it's the same thing. Just remove int here and write float. That's all. So this is how we can take user input, and then based on this input we can make some calculations, we can do whatever we want to do. Is that okay? You use this input function, and then you tell the user what to input, and then you can receive it and use it to do anything you want. Is that okay? So yeah, that's how you can take user input. So let's recap what we've learned so far before we continue. So first of all, we look at what comments are, and we say comments help us to achieve three main things, right? They help us to explain our code. They help us to make our codes more readable. They help us to prevent code execution. Then we said, okay, when you run your code, what happens to the comments? The computer don't compile them. Okay, when you run your code, immediately the language sees this, your compiler sees this. Okay, it's a comment, it will jump it. Is that okay? So it doesn't compile the comment because it knows it's a comment. And I've given an example here that, okay, when you want to use comment to explain your code, you have written some line of code which you think, okay, my fellow engineer who work on this code will not understand this, so I have to explain it to the person. You can comment, you can write a comment beside it, and your fellow engineer, when he comes, okay, I am printing hello. Okay, so this is how we print hello. He understands it. That's very good. And then we move on. We said we have types of comments, and we have single line commenting and multiple line commenting. And we say for single line commenting, just say you have only few lines of code, or you want to comment only one line of code, you just put the hash sign in front of that line of code, and it will comment it, just as we've done here. We've done it so many times. And then we move on to multiple line of code, where we say, okay, you have a lot of code you want to comment out, right? You can't afford to be commenting them one after the other. So for that one, what you do is what you bring you bring three quotation mark in front of where you want to start the commenting from, and then you place another three quotation mark at where you want the comment to end. Exactly that. So when you run this code, all of this will be commented out. Only this one will be executed, because we said we are starting from here and we are ending here, and that's what multiple line commenting. Then I also showed you hack on how to comment a whole line of code, right? So I said if you want to comment a whole line of code, you just select all of these with your mouse, you highlight all of that, you press control plus forward slash on your keyboard, which is very fast. It doesn't matter if it's multiple line, single line, you just have to highlight it, press control forward slash, and that's it. You are done. Is that okay? Then from there, we move on to variables. We say variables are just placeholders for data. So when you say x is equal to 7, what you are doing is you are assigning 7 to x, right? And anytime you call x, x will go into your computer memory and make sure it retrieves wherever 7 is being stored, and you can get access to 7 and use it anywhere. So you can also declare name is equal to doc virtue and all those stuffs. All right, we move on by saying, okay, declaring variable is very fun, but when we are declaring them, we have to be extra careful, because there are some rules governing them, right? These rules some of them are mandatory, some of them are not. Okay, so we said the first rule is that when you are defining a variable, you must start with a letter or an underscore. You should need start variable declaration with, let's say, numbers. Okay, that's another rule. When you start variable declaration with, let's say, numbers, it doesn't work. You will get an error. And we also said, okay, variables must be very descriptive. So whatever you are writing your code about, if you are solving a particular problem in certain domain, then the variable names must relate to that particular problem you are trying to tackle. Because yourself, in terms of yourself, you can leave that particular code base, work on other projects, and return like a month later. When you come and you don't use proper variable name declarations, you forget what you have even done, and your own code will look like a stranger or an alien to you. And for the sake of others, when you share your code for others and the names are not descriptive, they will not understand what you are trying to do. Is that okay? And that will be a hard task for them. Then we said variable names are also case sensitive. So when you define a variable called name is equal to ima, and you define additional variable name is equal to ima here, because these names are not the same, one starts with an uppercase letter, the other one starts with a lowercase letter, they are different. Okay, they are different. So you can't declare a variable name like this and print it as the name like this. They are two different variable names, so you have to take care of that. You have to also be aware of that. Then finally, we said variable name cannot be a Python keyword. And I said the Python keywords are just reserved words. They are the words used in the programming language. So you can't say you are declaring a variable name print is equal to 5. You can't say my variable name is what? Int is equal to 2. These are special reserved words that are used in the programming language, and we don't need to use them in declaring our variables. Is that okay? So we've also learned that. So let me put that here and comment it out. Then we move on to variable names that you declare that might be long. Okay, some variable names are very long, and because of that, we have to write them in a way that what people can understand. And that's where we say we have three ways of declaring those types of variable. We have camel case, Pascal case, and snake case. And we say camel case, when you are starting a camel case variable, you start the first letter start with a lowercase, then all the subsequent letters must start with what, uppercase. So you can see my name is, we have done it, the mine start with lowercase, name start with upper, the next word start with upper. Then we also have a Pascal case. Pascal case that says that okay, for every word start with a capital letter. Okay, so mine start with capital, name also start with capital. Then finally we have snake case, and snake case says that okay, my name, everything will be lowercase, but you join them with what, underscores. So these are very important, and I told you earlier on that every company have their way of declaring their variable. So when you join a company and they told you we are all using camel case, that means you have to adapt to camel case. When you join a company, they say okay, this we use Pascal case, you have to use Pascal case. You can't use any other, because that's part of the company's culture. So you have to make sure you adapt to it and you start doing that same thing. Is that okay? Then from there we look at data types, and we said for every data or for every variable we assign a data to, it might have different data. So because it might have different data, we have to know all the data types we are working with and how we can work with them. And we look at example where we use string and we are adding two string, which we think okay, this should add 67 to 44, but because it's string, it just concatenates it to this 67, which will give us C744 instead of the addition of 67 and 44. So we said we have to be careful about those data types, and we should know how it works. And to check the data type for any variable, we use the type function, right? We use type, and inside it we put the variable name we want to check the data type, so that we can be extra careful. From there we look at casting. When we say casting is the process of converting from one data type to another. The fact that I have integer doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to convert my integer to floating point number. The fact that I have a floating point number doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to convert my floating point number to integer. So that's what casting helps you to do. It helps you to bridge that particular gap. Maybe you have an integer you want to convert to float, you just cast it. So that's the terminology used. From there we look at how you can take what, input from user. Is that okay? Inputs from user, and we said taking input from user, we use the input function, and by default this input function returns to us what, strings. So if what you want is not string, then you have to make sure you encapsulate everything in this together with the input function into whatever you want to cast it into. So if you want to cast everything to float, then we have to encapsulate this whole thing into this float function. So that's why we'll make sure that okay, x here will be a float, y will be a float, and then we can add x and y and print it. So that's what we've learned so far. Now we'll just move on to strings. I believe that's the last thing for today, because we look at comments. So let's look at something small about strings. So let's go into details about strings, and let's see what we can also achieve with strings, and then we'll call it a day. Our time have passed, but let's quickly do something with strings. All right, so strings in Python are surrounded by either single quotes or double quotes, right? So let's say I call this fruits. Fruit is equal to, I can give it mango here, and what I'm saying single quote or double quote is that this is the same as let me copy this and paste it some number one time, and then instead of this we can use double quotes, which is the same thing, right? So you can either use double quote or single quote, all are the same, and that's how you can declare strings. Okay, is that okay? Is that all right? So yeah, so anytime you declare something like this is a string, you can use either double quote or single quotes. Okay, so let's say I have a long strings, right, that I want to define. Let's just, I have a very long string that I want to define. So let's say let me say fruits, or let me say paragraph or something like that. Let me just write paragraph, if I can spell paragraph right. And paragraph is equal to, then I just put string here. Let me see, will lorem work here? Let me just type something. So you type a whole line of string which is very long and something, and you see it's very long. Let's say you have a very long string, right? So you just keep typing a very very long string, something like this. You can see at a point you can't see everything, and this will go out of your frame, right? And what you can also do is to, okay, automatically the id completes, but let me just remove this. What you can do is just define a string like this. Let's say, let me remove this quote here. A string like this will give you an error. So we have a way of declaring a very long strings. Okay, so we call that one multi-line string declaration. So for multi-line string declaration, when we do paragraph is equal to, we bring the three quotes, just as how we do the multi-line comments. So 1 2 3, you divide it like this. So 3 down, 3 up, and now you can type anything in between this, right? You can type anything in between these three quotes, and all will be assigned to paragraph. Is that okay? So anything you type here will be assigned to paragraph, and that's just good. So that's if you have some long text that you want to actually assign to a variable, and if we print paragraph, it should give us what we have assigned to it. So let me comment this and run this. Okay, we still have enter your number, and you can see we have printed the paragraph, which is like this. Is that okay? So let me clear the terminal. Now this should give me, let me come out here and comment all this out. So yeah, so that's how we can kind of well, how do we call it, we can kind of define multi-line strings. Is that okay? Then let's look at something we call string slicing. Okay, let's quickly look at something we call string slicing. String, wow, let me come down here. What am I typing? Slicing or something like that. String slicing. So string slicing helps you to get part of your string. Okay, part of a string. Okay, so that's what string slicing helps you to achieve. So let's say your name is, let's say name is equal to let me put Fat Joe. Your name is Fat Joe, and you want to get some part of the string. You want to get, let's say, only Fat and not Joe, because you want to be fat, you don't want Joe. String slicing can help you to get some part of the string. So let's say let me call this part underscore string, right? And this is equal to, so when you want to perform slicing, then you have to bring this square brackets, right? And then you have to put where you want to slice from and where you want to end. So the starting and the end. Is that okay? The starting and the end. So part string is equal to, you bring this bracket, what are you going to slice? So we want to slice from name, so we put name in front, and in this bracket we can now show what you want to get. So you can put from 0 here, that means you want to get from 0, and then you put colon to where you want it to end. So let's say if I want from 0 to 3, then I can put from 0 here to 3, or from 0 to 4, anyhow I want it. So this will start from 0, so the first letter will be 0, this will be 1, and then this will be 2, and 3 will be the middle, the space here. So now if I should come here and print part string, if I should print this and run this should give me what? You can see I got fat, right? So this helps you to select some part of text. Is that okay? Some part of string. Is that okay? All right. So if you want the first 3, you can still not put the 0 here. You can just do colon 3, and this will get you the first 3 as well. That means you want to start from the start and you want to get the last thing. Is that okay? So that's another hack you can use to get strings. Is that okay? Yeah, so that's about string. You can also use negation to get something. Let's say you want to get from start to -1. So from here to, let's say, -1, this should give you everything except the last word, right? Something like that. So you can see you've got fat Joe. The Joe, the E is not part of it. So anytime you specify negative here, it means the last one shouldn't be inclusive. Is that okay? All right. Are you guys following? Any question? Someone have any question or no question? All right, now let's look at some string methods. Okay, some string methods which are very important, you use most often. So some of the string method, you don't have to write them already, they are already there. uh String methods, right? So in Python, methods help you to also achieve a lot of things. So let's say you have how do I call this? Let me call this is it fruit? Let's just use fruit again. I love fruits. So fruits is equal to, no, not fruits. So fruit is equal to some fruit. So let's use, is melon a fruit? Is melon a fruit? So let's use fruit is equal to melon, right? And then let's say I ask you to turn the word melon to all uppercase. Okay, so there is a method which will make it easy for you. So let's say you want to store that in another variable called upper melon or something, or upper fruit. Upper fruit will be good. So let's use upper fruit. Upper fruit will be equal to what? Fruit dot upper. You can see fruit dot upper. Just like this method will take your melon and convert it to uppercase. So if we print upper fruit, that should give us what? All uppercase of our fruits. So you can see, where is melon? Okay, fruit. Oh, okay, this should be fruit. Yeah, it's using the fruit we've defined at the top, which is mango. So it's giving upper mango. So you can see here we got melon all uppercase. So it's the same thing. If you want a lower case, then you use what? Lower. Is that okay? You just use lower, and this will give you all lowercase. So it's just simple. This is a method you can use. You can use uppercase, you can use lowercase to get them if you want. So it makes your work so easy for you. If you want everything to be uppercase, if you want everything to be lowercase, is that okay? Is that okay? All right. Then let's look at a method called replace. There are a lot of methods. I'll just go into few ones, and then you will look at some of them yourself. So let's say we have let's define another one. Let's call this one Z is equal to a word called zebra or something. Let's use zebra, right? And we want to replace a word here. Okay, we want to replace some part of this string here. So we have a method that can help us to do that. So I'll not put it in another variable. I'll just go ahead and print it. So all you do is to print z dot replace, and then inside this replace you have to specify two things. Is that okay? What you want to replace and what you want to replace it with. Is that okay? So if I want to replace the capital Z, I have to just put it here. I want to replace this Z, that's capital, so caps lock, comma, and put what I want to use to replace. So I want to replace it with a lowercase z. So if I run this now, this should what? Print my result for me, but it should give me a lowercase this thing. It should change this z from uppercase to lowercase. Is this thing running? Let me see. So let me run this. So you can see now I got zebra, right, which works great. So there are a lot of string methods. You can search them. We have a lot of string methods. So this is where today I will end my okay Okay, before I end, let me add this one, which is very important. So I made mention about string concatenation. So let's do that for the last, something we call string concatenation. So let's type string con, is a concatenation. So string concatenation is just by adding two strings together. Okay, so if you said, okay, a is equal to some string of maybe let's say mango, right? And you want to say, okay, b is also equal to another string called apple, right? And you want to add a and b, you can just print a plus b and you can be able to add it, right? So you can do a plus b, and what do you guys think we'll get? We'll try. If you print a plus b, what do you think we'll get? We'll get what? No, we'll not get AB. We have assigned A to something and we have assigned B to something. I want to print A plus B. So who else will try? We should get mango apple. Would there be space between them? Would there be space between them? Okay, you can. So, okay, someone. Okay, someone is producing some noise. Okay, okay. So let's print it. So you can see we got mango apple with no space between them because this is what exactly we've typed in. So that's what string concatenation means. Like you are adding strings together. Is that okay? Combine two or more strings together with a plus operator. Is that okay? So that's what string concatenation means. Is that okay? Yeah, so that's basically what it means. And if you want space here, you can either add space, you can make a space in front of this place, and then when you run it now, there will be what space between them, which is very, very simple. Is that okay? Let me see. I think that will be all, but before that, let's try this and let me see. Let's try this. Mm, okay. Let's try this. I'll just ask questions on this, then we can call it a day. So yeah. So my first question is, what is wrong with this code? What error can you see in this code? What can you identify in this code that is, you think is not right? Let me comment everything we have so far here before. What error do you think we have in this code? Print hello name. So why would this not run if I print hello name? So let's try and solve this based on everything we've learned so far. Let's try and solve the print name. What error will we get? Do you think we'll get error? Will you think it will run? What do you think we are not doing right based on everything we've learned so far? We'll try. We'll try. No one wants to try, right? Okay, so let's just print it. So the reason why it will not work. Okay. Can I answer the question? Yeah, you can answer. Okay, I think the reason it might not work is because the person has not input like their age, and also the very you just put like plus age plus. Yeah, I don't think that is correct. Okay, so you think the reason why it will not work is that the person have not inputted the age. No, so this is age is equal to input. How old are you? And then the person is printing you are plus age plus years old. Is that okay? Yes. And you think it will not work because why? Because first of all, like yeah, I don't think you're supposed to write like plus age plus. I don't I just feel like that should not be correct. And also you didn't add the colon too. Colon where? At the end of like the question, like How old are you? No, this is okay. So let's take it one by one. This age, what will be returned? Let me ask this question first. What would this age return based on what we have learned so far? Try. What do you guys think age will return? Age is equal to input. How are you? Right? We've learned about the input. So what will age return? Will it be string? Will it be integer? The value to return, will it be string, integer, or float? Let me know. It will be string. Okay. And we learned something called string concatenation, right? Where we said is the process of adding two or more strings together. So we've just done that. Okay, so since age is a string, so if we are printing it's a string, right? Then we add age to it. Age is also a string, and then we add years old to it. Years old is also a string, so it should work, right? Do you guys get it now? So this is a right code that should work. This yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm saying we all agree that by default, whatever the input gives you is a string, right? Whatever we get from the input is a string. That's why when we're using it right here at the top, when we're using it here, if you remember, we said okay, by default it will give us string, so we have to cast it to float so that we can add it and get a floating point result. All right. And now when we come down here, I'm just asking that okay, what is wrong with this code and what's wrong with this code? And someone said this one he doesn't think it will work, but I think this should work based on what we have learned so far. If we are following, this should work. This one is what shouldn't work because you can even see a red line here. The reason why this should work is that we know by default whatever we get from the input is a string, right? So if that is the case, then whatever will be in this age variable will be a string. And we learned about string concatenation, which is the process of adding two or more strings together. So now if you are printing this here is a string. You are adding another string to it, which is age. Age is a string. We are adding years old. So everything here is a string. So it should work. It will only not work if we cast this to integer. Then we'll say, okay, we are adding different data types. Is that okay? Yeah. I don't get you. Is it related to what we are doing here? Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, you are here is a string. We didn't define you are here. You are here is just a string. So we are printing you are. Yeah. Like quotation marks. No. Oh no, we didn't put it because age return here is a string already, right? Do you guys get it? The age return here, let's comment this and run this and see. The age return is already a string, right? So how old are you? If I should enter 6 year, you can see you are 6 years old, right? So the problem is not it will not work here. The only problem here that you can say is spacing, right? So you can put space here and put another space here so that the you are 6 years old will not be combined here. But what I want you guys to understand is that okay, you guys are thinking okay, we should have you are plus then the age here we should have quotation mark here, right? Is this what you guys are saying? No, once you add age here, then this will not take the age we are getting from the user. Then we are just saying, okay, this string age. Is that okay? So what? Okay, say first I'm coming. What I'm saying here is that whatever you get from this input is a string. So to confirm that, we said, okay, if you want to know the data type, what do we use? We use type, right? So age is equal to input. How old are you? Now let's just print the type of what? Age. And let's see. So let's run this and let's give it any number c7. uh so let's try c7, enter. You can see we have what class string, so it's already a string. So when we are putting it here is what we are doing here is called a string concatenation. We are adding strings together. Ui is a string, age is a string, years old is also a string, so we are adding strings together. Is that okay? So it will give us string. We'll just get strings. Hope that's cool. So that's why it works. So you are here is okay. I'm saying by default we know this input function, whatever it returns is a string, right? And over here we've learned what we call string concatenation, right? Which is here. And we say string concatenation help us to what? Add two strings together. So we did mango and apple and we got what? Mango apple. Is that not it? When we did it, we got mango apple, right? So just take the same thing. Here we are doing you are, which is a string. We are doing age. Age here, whatever we get from this input is also a string. So we are just doing you are this age, which is also a string, and years old. So it will get execute well. Is that okay? Safe as you can ask your question now. Okay. So it will store in this age variable, right? No, it's a string. Your answer is a string by default because I told you input here gives you string. So if you want it to be int by default, right? By default, whatever this returns is a string. If you want it to be an integer, then you can cast everything here to an integer, which we did when we're adding the number. So now if I run this code, I will get an error. The error I will get is that what? I'm trying to add string and integer together, which is it cannot be done. So let me enter some number. Let me enter like 88 and press enter. You can see we got an error. Type error. Can only concatenate string, not int to string. Do you get it? So now I'm trying to add an integer to string, which will not work. Right? So if I want to add a string can be added to string. So if I want to add strings and strings, then I shouldn't concatenate that. It should all be string, then it will work. Is that okay? Okay, Doc, you can come in. Two or more strings. Yeah, because they are of the same data type. Is that okay? Yeah. Are we clear on that? So this one that it says, okay, that's fine. This one that says hello name, the reason why we are getting error here is that what? This name here is a string and this name here is not defined. We didn't define name to be anything. So let's say if I define name here is equal to some name, let me just write maybe fx. If I fes right here, then we can print hello, then we can add what? Maybe plus name again. So now we are adding name, which is a string, and hello together. So when we print it, we should get what? You can see hello fes. Is that okay? And if you want space between them, then you can give the space in front here. Is that okay? Yeah, so that's all for today. We've learned about comments, variables, data types. We've also learned some string methods and so on. So we'll meet next week Friday, which will be our third time, and we'll continue from there. But for now, this is what we have learned. I'll send some try questions in the group. Those of you who try can get back to me to look at it and so on before the day. So thanks for joining. Before that, if you have any question, just ask so that we can conclude. Okay, Doc, you can come in. Oh, okay, I'll put it in. I'll put it in. If I don't, just remind me, right? That's fine. Any other question? Any other questions, or we are cool? Okay, if there is no further questions, then thanks for joining once again. We'll meet. See first, you have a question. Okay. Okay. PyCharm, yeah. All right. So So okay, so we have IDEs, okay, which we call integrated development environment, and there are a lot of them. Okay, it's not even only PyCharm and Visual Studio Code. PyCharm is just IDE for Python. Okay, so let me search. If I type list of list of uh, IDEs, right, which stand for the integrated development. So you can see we have a whole lot of them. You can see. So you can use the one you want, but some support a lot of programming language, some support only one language. Is that okay? So you just have to know the one you want and the one you use. So VS Code is popularly used. This one, like Visual Studio Code, is popularly used. But for PyCharm is only for Python. Is that okay? It's for Python. So you can only use it to write Python code. It's for Python. Yeah, but Visual Studio Code support different programming languages, and I would say one of the most popularly used IDE out there. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so that's all. If there is no other questions, then bye. Okay, then guys, see you later. Bye.